Welcome to a mini Smart Firefighting podcast series, recorded live at the Institute of Fire Engineers booth during the 2024 AFAC show, Down Under in Sydney, Australia. Throughout these conversations, we dive into critical issues like fire safety, emerging technologies, diversity in the fire service, and innovative solutions for emergency response. Enjoy these fascinating insights from leaders around the world on how we can build a safer and more resilient future. Haley Burgess, the International President of the Institute of Fire Engineers, discusses how the organization promotes competency through exams and continuous development. She also emphasizes the role of global collaboration in addressing fire engineering challenges and her passion for continuous learning. I think it's podcast 14 or 15 of the IFE miniseries alongside Haley Burgess here in the little IFE hut. Haley, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Kevin. How's you?
I was on the fire truck this morning with New South Wales and went on 2 calls and saw a little behind the scenes, a day in the life of a firefighter here, and it was really special and eye-opening experience.
I was going to say that would be very interesting. I'd love to do that.
Yeah. So what brings you to AFAC? Why are you here, and what have you been working on here?
I'm here in my role as International President for the Institution of Fire Engineers. I was elected last October and it runs to this October. So I'm here in that role. I'm doing a few workshops involved in a few panels. I was involved in one the other day on the Coalition for Change for PPE for ladies, which was great fun, very enlightening. And today I'm doing another workshop with Angela.
Okay. And you mentioned your role within the IFE. Tell me about kind of, the Institute of Fire Engineers. In your words, what is the Institute of Fire Engineers, and ultimately how did you get into your position today?
That's a good question. So the Institution of Fire Engineers is obviously a global international body that represents people working in the fire sectors. Not just fire engineers, but anybody. So I'm not a fire engineer technically. I'm a fire risk assessor or fire safety consultant. So it represents fire and rescue services, fire engineers, fire safety people working within the fire sector. We provide professional support in the form of examinations, CPD, stuff like that. We also provide membership grades as well. I was on the board. This is my 3rd year of being on the board. And last year I was elected as international president, which has been a fantastic opportunity. I've had the opportunity to travel the world, really, right from Dublin to Puerto Rico, to here, to America. So it's been a very, very busy year. It's been fantastic, actually.
Yeah. Well, it seems like IFE is sort of like a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, working on a couple different programs and initiatives and helping. The other day, we saw 26 fire engineers go into a training ground and experience what it's like to actually be a firefighter. It's experience what it's like to put on PPE and what it's like to carry hose. What are some other programs that IFE is doing? What's some of these programs and initiatives that you're involved with?
Well, you're probably aware that the Grenfell Tower Phase 2 report came out yesterday. So the IFE will be analysing that very carefully to see what's coming out of that. But one of the major projects that we're working on is obviously promotion of competency within the industry. So obviously competency in the fire safety industry is crucial. So it's really important to us that our members remain to the forefront of all the developments, that they're equipped to fulfil their roles within the sector. So education and continuing professional development is one thing that we work very hard on. I would say the IFE is a leader in the CPD that we offer, the registration schemes. So we offer registration through the Engineering Council. We have our Fire Risk Assessors Register. We were the first professional engineering institution to get registration with the HRRB, contextualised register. So our members are at the forefront of developing their competency. And that's ultimately what's going to make buildings safer for everybody.
Well, today when I was at the fire station, I asked a couple of firefighters, and one in particular, I was like, have you ever had, is there any particular call or most memorable call that comes to mind? And he was like, there wasn't really one that was like a big call or a bad call, but it was more about when they operated and followed the protocol perfectly. And when they just did everything as properly and as correctly as possible. And it kind of speaks to having sound practices and sound protocols and following through on them as a collective unit, whether it's on the firefighting side or the fire engineering side, to have the best outcomes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely would agree with that. And, it's the same from the initial design stages of a building right through to the actual maintenance of a building. It's making sure that the building's designed to the correct code, to the correct standards. And even after the building's constructed, that's obviously not the end of it, because the building has to be maintained. Somebody can design a building so that it's designed to operate perfectly, but if we don't educate the people in the building, we don't maintain the systems for fire safety in the building, then when something happens, it's all going to go pear-shaped.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's absolutely spot on, I would say.
It seems like within the dynamic of fire engineering in the building construction, it's important to note that trends have changed from over time when thinking about, I know within the North American market in particular, with the introduction of lightweight construction materials and kind of quickly made furniture, stuff burns faster, it burns farther. In addition to that, there's challenges of lithium-ion batteries, power storage. There's challenges of solar panels on roofs. There are all these unknown challenges.
Yeah.
I would love to hear some of your continued thoughts on that, of these different new threats that exist now that maybe didn't exist 5-10 years ago, and how does that impact both the fire engineering and fire response perspective?
Yeah, so, fire engineering is a very fast-moving world. As you say, there's never a day goes by now that there's not some sort of lithium-ion battery fire in the news. Even our modes of transport, electric vehicles, are taking over the world. I suppose, in my opinion, electric vehicles, yes, I can see the environmental benefits, but have we done enough research into what happens when they go on fire, etc.? We've had a number of incidents in the UK with electric scooters or hoverboards, those sort of appliances. I suppose one of the things we need to do is educate the public as well as to the dangers. Even a small thing of discarding batteries, ordinary household domestic batteries incorrectly, are leading to recycling plant fires, etc. But yeah, the way we build buildings has changed over the last years dramatically. We've got our modern methods of construction. I suppose the end goal is to build quicker, to build cheaper, to build more efficiently, energy efficiency, etc. So the solar panels, etc. But as you say, with those comes the challenges. So it's just getting the research in to know how we control these fires, how we prevent them. So there's an awful lot to learn. And I suppose going forward, that's not going to change.
No.
We're going to keep looking for better methods of constructing buildings that can go up quicker, can go up higher. So yeah, it's going to be an ongoing challenge for the whole fire sector. And that's why we need to keep ahead of, our learning, our knowledge up to date, figuring out all these new things.
Mm. It seems there's these emerging technologies and just evolving trends that exist, which requires a need for different, likewise, innovative approaches about how we design, how we respond. And then I'm kind of coming back to the IFE perspective from leading some of these innovative approaches and leading the conversation about learning best practices. How is IFE involved in helping this conversation?
One of the major things that we have to recognize is the IFE or the fire sector, we can't operate as an island. Collaboration is the key to it. So by sharing our knowledge between designers, architects, construction people, there's no point in us identifying a problem and putting a solution but not sharing that, because no matter where you go in the world, we're all experiencing the same problems. And sometimes you only see that when you sit down. And for example, the forum I was in the other day, there was representation from 6 different countries, and there wasn't one problem that we weren't all having. So I think it's about collaborating and ensuring the knowledge is shared, ensuring the problems are shared, and how we're approaching to fix those problems. So I think sharing knowledge is key. Collaboration with other professional organisations, making sure that our findings are available to all those other organisations, and vice versa. It's a two-way street. So I think that's the way forward. not to sort of operate as an island alone.
Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, you mentioned some of the dynamic of how you got into this role, but being in this for a couple of years now, what do you love about the fire engineering space, the IFE, and what you do for a career?
Well, believe it or not, fire was never really on my radar as a career. When I was at school, my dream job was to be a vet, so a million miles away from fire. But I went to university. I didn't get the grades for veterinary, so I decided to study pharmacy. And I hated pharmacy, so I did 1 year. And then I moved into a general science degree. And following that, I moved into retail management, where I got my first experience of health and safety. So I sort of continued my career down the line of health and safety, and that's where I discovered an interest in fire safety. The two sort of go hand in hand. And then I went sort of focused more in the road of fire safety. And for me, fire safety was a mix of science, which I love, but there's a bit of excitement to it. Health and safety can be a wee bit sort of dull maybe at times to people. But fire is always exciting. There's a bit of excitement about it. I suppose I love my job because I get to see so many different scenarios, so many different people. No day is the same. Every day is different challenges, different projects to work on, different places to go. So it's the variety of the day-to-day job. Even within fire, there's so many different roads you can take within that. And for me, the opportunities are never ending. There's something to look forward to every day. Whether it be sitting in an office, whether it be out in the road, whether it be in Australia. So yeah, it's a variety, the ability to meet people, the exciting developments. There's no time to get bored. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Plenty to do.
No, never get bored.
Yeah. And as far as it's September 2024, what are some other, like, in the next 6-12 months from IFE related? You'd mentioned the Grenfell report, the second dynamic report coming out. That's going to be a big focus. What are some other top priorities for IFE over the next couple months?
Oh, gosh, well, I suppose we're focusing again on the competency element, which is coming out of the Grenfell Tower report, but developing our contextualised registers for HRRBs, your high-rise risk buildings, residential buildings, expanding our membership, expanding our offering to our members, ensuring that they're being equipped with the skills, the knowledge to deal with all these changes, as we've spoken about, to deal with all the technological changes, the methods of construction. So just staying ahead of the curve, really. I'm off to New Zealand next month to Fire NZ. So again, it'll be just spreading the word about the IFE, making sure everybody knows where we're going, what we're doing.
Yeah. And do you have to be a fire engineer to be part of IFE?
No, you do not. No, you just have to have an interest in fire. There's grades open to any person, from whether you have an interest in fire right up to chartered engineers.
Yeah. And so this wasn't a question that was on the document that we talked through, but one thing I've been asking kind of people towards the end of the podcast is if there's a quote or words of wisdom that you live by, or that you structure your vision with IFE around, that is a kind of a backbone of how you operate and how IFE operates.
Goodness, that's a good question. I would say a quote that I go by is, every day is a school day. Never stop learning. Never think you know it all, because you know very little, to be honest. And always expect the unexpected. That's sort of the two quotes that would sum up my days anyway.
Nowadays, I love school and I love learning, so I agree with that. I think if I was in third grade and you told me every day is a school day, I'd be like, no, that's terrible.
Yeah. But it's a cliche, but everybody say, oh, school's the best days of your life. I don't know. I think university was the best days of my life, I would say. But I can understand now what they're saying, every day is a school day, means.
Always be learning.
Always be learning. Never become complacent. I suppose there's a lot of people out there have become complacent, and that's when things happen.
Yeah.
Complacency breeds contempt.
Right on. Well, Haley, I really appreciate all the leadership that you're doing with IFE and continue to drive fire safety and fire engineering safety around the world, and excited to continue to follow suit and see what's next for you and IFE.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to this episode recorded alongside the Institute of Fire Engineers during the AFAC show. If you found value in the conversation or learned something new, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out, share your thoughts, and let's keep the discussion going on how we can shape the future of smart firefighting.